Welcome, and thank you for tuning in once again. This is the account bringing you the news for day 303 of the war in Ukraine. Today we have a lot of smaller things to go over, but nothing really that stands out. So we will take our usual look at the situation in Ukraine, the occupied territories, and the international developments. Still, there are two articles I want to highlight before we start. First, I want to highlight an investigative article by the New York Times titled "Caught on Camera, Traced by Phone: The Military Unit That Killed Dozens in Bucha." It is an 8-month visual investigation by the New York Times into what exactly happened and who is responsible for it. Journalists spent months in Bucha interviewing residents, collecting security camera footage, and obtaining exclusive records from government sources. The article and video contain disturbing accounts and scenes. Viewer discretion is advised. The second article I want to highlight is a very nice and informative chronological recount of the war up to day 300 by Ukrinform titled "How Ukraine's Armed Forces Seized Strategic Initiative, a 2022 review." And now, before we go over the news, we will check out the main flashpoints along the front. Svatova. Reports of fighting in Kolomichicha and north of Cherelne. Should Kolomichicha be liberated, it would open the way to the PO7 and a possibility for attacking Kuzymivka from the south. Krymina. The General Staff of Ukraine reported repelled attacks in the areas of Makivka, Ploshchanka, Chervonopopivka, Yampolivka, and Dibrova. Bakhmut. Heavy artillery duels are raging. Ukrainian presence was confirmed at a tower east of the city, marked here with a cross. Clashes continue east of Bakhmut and in Opytne. A video shared on social media shows Russian forces shelling Ukrainian positions with incendiary ammunition. Vuhledar. Reports by Ukrainian sources claim the armed forces of Ukraine operate in northwest Mykylsk. Moving on to the news segment, starting with today's news out of Ukraine. President Zelensky held another meeting of staff of Supreme Commander-in-Chief today. It comes after his visit to the USA and the announcement of a Patriot system being prepared for Ukraine. Zelensky stated, "We are preparing for the next few months and the next year in general. The commanders were heard at the meeting today. We see prospects on the front." According to Kyiv Oblast Governor Oleksiy Kuleba, the energy deficit in Kyiv's power system stands at 50% currently. The situation is especially difficult in the Bucha, Brovary, and Boryspil districts, where power is available just 2 to 4 hours a day. Over the past day, Russia attacked the Donetsk, Kherson, Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, Sumy, Zaporizhia, and Luhansk oblasts, killing 5 people and wounding 14. In Donetsk Oblast alone, Russian forces killed 4 civilians and injured 7 more. In the morning today in Kherson, Russia fired on the city using Grad MLRS, targeting residential areas and critical infrastructure. As a result, 2 civilians were killed. Because Russia is shelling Kherson daily now, part of the city may be left without electricity, water, and heating. Residents are urged to evacuate, especially in the Ostriv microdistrict. In Kramatorsk, Russian forces attacked residential areas using S-300 missiles. 12 apartment blocks and 3 houses, housing over 100 families, and 2 schools were partially destroyed, according to the Kramatorsk city administration. The National Police of Ukraine reported 10 high-rise buildings and 1 school damaged. And now for a look at the situation inside the occupied territories. Russia has begun demolishing the theater in Mariupol. The theater was destroyed in the Russian attack on April 16th when 2 missiles directly hit it. It served as the city's main bomb shelter until the destruction. Reportedly 300 people died in what Amnesty International called a clear war crime. Timur Ivanov, Deputy Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, is profiting from construction in Mariupol. Among his responsibilities are the construction of military facilities for the Russian army. The Russian Defense Ministry's military construction company is in charge of these constructions. Ivanov and his partners have made more than 17 billion rubles, approximately 235 million euro, from the construction of residential blocks in Mariupol alone. The Associated Press reported on satellite images revealing another 10,300 graves at Mariupol cemeteries, most in the Stary Krim cemetery. According to calculations made by the AP, the area containing newly dug graves is more than 51,500 square meters large. Loud explosions were heard in Melitopol today when a car bomb exploded. Currently, it is unknown who the target was. According to Serhiy Haidai, head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, the FSB is engaging in terror against the Luhansk population. FSB agents will randomly select civilians for counter-subversive measures and, in case of anything suspicious found, the residents are detained. If lucky, they are able to return after undergoing re-education. Last night in Tokmak, Zaporizhia Oblast, the headquarters of the Russian occupation forces was destroyed. According to local sources, it housed many Chechens at the time of the strike. Information on casualties is being clarified. And finally, the latest international developments regarding the war in Ukraine. For the first time since the missile attack on December 16th, Russia has deployed 3 missile carriers armed with 20 caliber cruise missiles in the Black Sea. In its daily assessment, the Institute for the Study of War writes about Putin's tries to absolve himself of responsibility for conducting protracted war in Ukraine. Since the fall of Lysychansk on July 3rd, the Russian forces have not achieved any significant or strategically important victory. While Putin used the term war for the first time to describe the situation, a few military bloggers quickly stated that they have always used both war and special military operation interchangeably because every thinking person knows that what is happening in Ukraine is a hot war. According to the director of Israeli intelligence, Mossad, Iran is preparing to expand its supply of advanced weapons to Russia. He further warned of Iran's renewed attempts to expand the uranium enrichment project. Vladimir Putin has told the Russian defense industry to ramp up production so the military will receive everything they need for their war against Ukraine. Dmitry Peskov, the press secretary of the President of the Russian Federation, stated in an interview that he believes Russia has significantly advanced on the path of demilitarization of Ukraine, one of the goals of the special military operation. Vladimir Putin called the Patriot missile system an outdated weapon that Russia will be able to counter easily. The Patriot is currently the most advanced air defense weapon in the US arsenal. But according to Putin, the Russian S-300 system is superior in any way, and Russia will just crush the Patriot. The Green Party in Germany, which is part of the government, demanded that Chancellor Olaf Scholz hand over Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. After the US announcement that Ukraine would receive Patriot air defense systems, the Greens began pressuring Scholz to expand military aid to Ukraine as well. And now for the intelligence updates, starting with the UK Ministry of Defense. On December 21st, President Putin was presented with plans to expand the Russian military by around 30% to 1.5 million personnel. It isn't clear when this level would be achieved. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu explained that the expansion would involve at least 2 brigades in northwestern Russia, growing to divisional strength. He cited the supposed threat from Finland and Sweden's accession to NATO. This constitutes one of the first insights into how Russia aspires to adapt its forces to the long-term strategic challenges resulting from its invasion of Ukraine. It remains unclear how Russia will find the recruits to complete such an expansion at a time when its forces are under unprecedented pressure in Ukraine. And finally, to wrap up the report, the evening update by the General Staff of Ukraine. The enemy has increased the volume of railway transport of personnel, military equipment and ammunition to the areas of hostilities. The enemy continues to focus its efforts on conducting offensive actions in the Liman, Bakhmut and Avdiivka directions. In the Kupiansk direction, the enemy is trying to improve the tactical position. In the Novopavlivsky, Zaporizhia and Kherson directions, the enemy is defending. In order to strengthen administrative and police measures in the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhia region, about 500 servicemen from the Russian Guard arrived in the city of Berdyansk. And that concludes today's news update. Interested in one of the articles mentioned and want to read up on it? I included all the links showcased in the report in the description. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day. You were listening to The Account. Slava Ukraini.